Hello, IG. Hello, Wednesday. Hello, 2025, or whatever year we may call this. It's Wednesday night, so let's get smart. Hello, Swanky Trey and Cheryl Shearer. What's up, my dear? Cheryl, I need to send you a link to something. I'm sorry, you asked me, and I forgot to send it to you. My brother, Aaron Mack, good to see you. Hello, Heaven's Harmony. It's such a party on Wednesday. I love y'all. Let's have a party, right? Let's have a wellness party. That's what Wednesdays are. Wednesdays are a wellness party. So, Norris Sports, what's happening, sir? Good to see you. Ruth Hayes, good to see you too. All of my freaking affiliates are on tonight. I love y'all. Miss Jolanda Lamoth, how are you feeling? I hope you're feeling amazing. What's up, Keith? I missed you too. It's party time, y'all. All right, so listen. I'm feeling much better than I was. So tonight I want to get into some viewer's choice, right? You all have a lot of questions that you all ask me regularly, and a lot of the times I can't get to them. White Mountain Medicine Man, good to see you. I can't wait to see you for real, but it's great to see you on Wednesdays. So we're going to go over some things that y'all want to talk about, right? That you may have asked me before, and I haven't been able to answer. So we are definitely going to start with some questions. So any questions that you all have about anything, doesn't matter. Anything you all have questions about, whether it's for you or your family, you can simply ask me and I will try to. Katie Kabeel, y'all, my affiliates are amazing. Can I tell you? And my next class in March has my second male affiliate. I'm telling y'all, when we're going to change the world with this LFD, we're going to change the world with this LFD. I can't. I'm so very excited. I got another client whose daughter wants to take the certification. This is the point, y'all. This is the point. This is how we change the system, ground up, grassroots. One by one, we teach and share information, and we pass that information to others until we break the system. So, any questions y'all want to talk about, let's talk about it, right? I am very well, Katie. Thank you for asking. I am very well. All right, so let me start this. First and foremost, the next Healing Hands, y'all, is on Monday. The next Zoom masterclass is on Monday. Y'all have asked me for a very long time to do a Healing Hands on eczema. Monday night, on the 20th, is the next Healing Hands on eczema. If you want to heal your eczema from home, hi Kenya, I see you. Or you have friends, family who are suffering from eczema, and if you're somebody who doesn't know anybody who has eczema, I don't know where you live. But if you or anybody you know are suffering from eczema, you got to get them on the class Monday night. Monday night is the next Healing Hands class for eczema. February, we are doing blood issues, high blood pressure, all kinds of cardiac issues. We're doing cholesterol. January 20th is eczema. February is blood issues. I think we're doing neurologic issues in March. And then I forgot the next one. But if you have not signed up yet, please go on to cejimages.com and sign up for Monday. Okay. First question. My daughter has a painful mass under her arm. What can I do to help her? Well, here's going to be my first question. One, how long has she had it? 2, is it open? 3, is it sensitive to the touch? And so let's talk about the arms, right? Let's talk about what's called the axillary lymphs. When we have issues underneath the arm, there are many lymph nodes that reside underneath the arms, right? And so sometimes people get boils or masses or really big bumps under the arms that can start, maybe they're shaving, maybe they've hit themselves, maybe they've been sick, and these lymph nodes start to swell and become these backed up masses underneath the arms. But the control of the underarm, right? It's recurring and it went away and came back. Not sensitive to the touch. That's a lymph node. If you have masses on the body that keep coming out and going back, it is the swelling and the healing of the lymph vessel that's connected to the node, which is stuck. That's the mass. But underneath the arms are very big lymph nodes that control. Hold on, y'all. I'm reading something. Got it. I got it, Diva. I got shoulder pain. So, almost the same thing, y'all. So, under the arms, we have very large lymph nodes. But remember, the lymph nodes are the dumping sites. The lymph vessels, the waterways that filter and then are supposed to feed the nose, are what's important. If you have a mass underneath your arms, and subsequently in the breast or in the chest too, it is a matter of having the lymph vessels in what's called the axillary lymphs inflamed, right? And Jolanda, if you have your daughter touch the area where the clavicle bone meets the shoulder, there are very large lymph vessels right here that lend itself to the nodes in the underarm. If you've got a mass or a bump in the lymph nodes under the arms, it's because the axillary lymphs that feed them are inflamed. She can do a number of things. She could take her knuckle and medium pressure tap the axillary lymphs here, where the clavicle meets the shoulder, right? That's the first thing. She has to release these. She can use a salt rock on these axillary lymphs. She can take a vibrating percussor and hold it here to release those lymphs. If you have her touch her axillaries, she's probably swollen. She's probably inflamed. It's probably hot up here. She can also use ice in her axillary lymphs here to open up the vessels and dump the nodes underneath the arm. The other thing is, where there's a mass anywhere in the body, but particularly in the underarm, the mass itself is the map that tells you what is inflamed, right? So if we're water and tissue and a bunch of minerals, and you have a mass underneath the arm, the area around the mass is the space that's inflamed, that is not picking up the water correctly. So she can also add taking her knuckles around the mass itself and just doing this gently to release around that mass, because all that's stuck in there is like minerals. But when you have a mass underneath the arms, it is the axillary that's the problem. So she has to open up the axillary here, and you also have to make sure that she isn't sick, right? If she's sick, if she's had a cold, if her allergies are active, remember the axillary are fed by the sinus filters behind the ears. And she doesn't have to have been sick recently. She could have been sick a month ago and her filters aren't completely uninflaming, right? Hello, Miss Velez, future affiliate. God dog, I love y'all. So she has to clear the axillaries, Miss Lamont. She has to clear the axillary, and she has to clear around the mass itself. Because we have to remember, y'all, we are full of lymph vessels. Like, all of the function in the body has to do with the lymph vessels, yeah? All right, shoulder pain. Y'all, shoulder pain is a big one. Shoulder pain is a big one because so many people have it, and it's not the shoulder. It's not the shoulder. Most people are like Camille. My shoulder hurts, or my rotator. You're welcome, Miss Lamont. My shoulder hurts. But y'all, we gotta remember, the shoulder has a head on it, and the head weighs something. So if you have not had an accident and you've been suffering with shoulder pain for a very long time, the problem is not the shoulder. And that's why doctors can't find the problem, because they keep looking at the shoulder, which is connected to a head, which is most likely heavy, and setting the shoulders out of their natural alignment, right? So when you have shoulder pain, there are large lymph vessels behind the filter, behind the ear, yeah? And straight down the back of the ear is the jugular vein. The jugular vein is a lymph vessel that has to stay flowing just like the rest of the lymph vessels. Hello, Well Day Spa. So when people have shoulder issues, it is almost outside of an accident. It is almost 100% of the time a situation where the jugular vein right back here is inflamed so much that it is swelling the lymph vessels and pushing your clavicle bone out of position, which also takes the back of the shoulder. So people who have had shoulder pain, specifically people who have had shoulder pain for a long time, stop starting at the shoulder. Your problem is at the head. You can take your knuckles right back behind the ears. Yeah? Let me see. I'm going to see if I can turn around and do this for y'all. Okay? All right. Can you see me? Okay. So, right back here, in between the ears, right? Straight across to the mid is right down on either side of the cervical spine of the neck. There are these great big spaces that contain the jugular vein on both sides. If the jugular vein is inflamed, it is going to dump water into the top of the shoulders and push the shoulders out of position, giving you pain, right? Which is why you feel that pain here and then behind the shoulder, right? So you want to take your knuckles or a salt rock or ice or a vibrating percussor and begin to percuss or vibrate that place at the base of your skull, releasing the jugular vein, which is going to release the shoulder. So again, outside of an accident, shoulder pain is not shoulder pain, right? It's not shoulder pain. It's actually jugular vein at the back of jugular vein inflammation that is dumping water on top of the shoulders that is setting the shoulder out of alignment. So you want to concentrate on that jugular vein down there. Anytime, y'all, we have any problem in the body that is related to the spine or the skeletal structure, we have to remember that it's the skull that sets that alignment. The lumbar spine in the middle of the back does not control itself. Remember, we are one piece of skin. If I cut you in the top of the head and peel off your skin, it is one piece of skin. And it contains everything inside of it like a balloon suspended in water with a head on the top. If the head is too heavy, because the water isn't flowing in balance in the body, the skull, because remember, the cervical spine doesn't sit right under the top here. It sits towards the back of the base of the spine, which means that the head has to be in perfect balance in its water to set the spine in its natural alignment, because the spine is suspended in water. Remember, the water in the body works like a vortex, like the heart, right? That's why bones have joints and they have spaces in between. So the spiraling of the water in the vortex can go straight through the body, in and out, crisscross, down and up and over to function the body. If there is even the slightest imbalance in the flow of the water, the skull is going to come off of the cervical spine. The cervical spine is going to be pulled off of the shoulder, which is going to cause shoulder pain, which is then going to cause water to dump under and around the lumbar spine, which is then going to take the pelvic bone, and then it's going to take the legs at some point. So if you do not have an accident in your shoulders, pain in your shoulders is not related to the shoulders. It's related to the head. Your head has to be sitting on top of your shoulders. And you can test it. If you get in the mirror, right? You can get in the mirror. This is the other thing we don't do. We don't just sometimes get in front of the mirror, no shirt, no clothes, and stand there for like 3 to 5 minutes and just look at the body. You look from the front, you turn and you look from the side, you turn and you look from the other side, and you could take a picture of yourself. Many of y'all, if y'all just stand in the mirror in the bathroom and you look at yourself in the mirror, you will notice that you won't be able to see your clavicle bone. When you're standing just like this, see how you can see my clavicle bone all the way to my rotator cuff? you should be able to see your hey Kyle, you should be able to see your clavicle bone, which sets your head inside of the clavicle bone. You should see your clavicle bone all the way to your rotator cuff. And if you do this with your shoulders, you should be able to see clear across your clavicle bone and see this whole space where your head sits inside. If your head and your neck are not sitting flush inside of your clavicle space, your entire spine is off. Whether you feel back or shoulder pain or not, but if you can't, while you're standing straight with a relaxed head, you can't see this clavicle space and you can't see your rotator cuff, then you have inflammation in the head. You have inflammation in the jugular vein. If you imagine that the jugular vein is a very important vein, it's a very important lymph vessel, because that jugular vein carries the blood from the heart, right? And so we, thank you, Keith. Keith said my clavicle is like a smile. I love you for that. Thank you. So the jugular vein, imagine if the jugular vein is one of the main veins that is carrying blood to the heart, and your jugular vein is swollen out of its natural position away from the neck and the head, what comes underneath it? Everything. Everything comes under Miss Naturalista, another future affiliate. My God, y'all. I love y'all. I love y'all. So you have to understand what you're supposed to look like in the mirror. Many of us don't even know what we're supposed to look like. Some of us women, some of y'all don't know that your cleavage is only supposed to be about 1 inch long. And if that little space that we call cleavage is longer than 1 inch, you are completely inflamed in the lymph vessels in and around the breast. Same thing with the shoulders. It is a complete necessity of alignment from the head. And if we've got problems below the head, particularly when it comes to skeletal or spinal alignment, then it is from the head. So if you've got, Miss Bella says my clavicle bone is playing hide and seek. So if your clavicle bone is playing hide and seek, practice with your clavicle. Take your knuckles, and you could do this in the mirror, and do it on one side and compare it to the other. If you have a clavicle that doesn't stick out, if you have a clavicle that you cannot see when you're sitting back, take your knuckle on one side in the mirror and do this along your clavicle space from the top of the neck down across the clavicle. And when you do it, you are going to feel, see, I just had some inflammation there too. Now I got to balance it out on the other side. You'll feel these little knots break. You'll feel them break open. Those are the lymph nodes that are on top of the clavicle bone that are swollen or inflamed, that is causing your clavicle bone to play hide and seek. You should always be able to see your clavicle bone. People who have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, MS, any of the other what they call wasting diseases, most of y'all can't see your clavicle bone at all because you have nothing but water sitting up here, which is why your body hurts. When there is a blockage of oxygenated water from the head to the body, you are going to have pain in the body because we breathe in air through the nostril. It gets filtered through the face and then fed to the body through the lymph nodes at the clavicle. The body does not breathe until it gets fed its sufficient oxygenated water from the face, which is why deep breathing, meditative breathing, diaphragmatic breathing are all very, very important. If you're breathing short or you're breathing through your mouth, you are not breathing through your nose, you are not sufficiently oxygenating your body, and your head contains the majority of the oxygenated water, and then your body becomes collateral damage for that. And you can test that by looking at your clavicle space, right? Women, you can also test that by looking at your cleavage. Your cleavage should only be 1 inch. That's it. Because what is cleavage? Cleavage is where the thoracic lymph vessels, or what they call the bronchial tubes, have to feed the lungs through the lymph vessels in the breast tissue. Yeah. Men, you can also look at your breast tissue. And if you're thick in the breast here, you've also got lymphatic inflammation in between the breast and through the clavicle, right? So my goddaughter, who's 10 years old, has developed a cyst on her neck around the Adam's apple. And they're encouraging surgery. And she's 10. Oh, God. Okay. Y'all, cysts, polyps, tumors, masses are all the same thing. They are only differentiated by size. When they say that you have a cyst, it's the same thing as a polyp. It is a mass of tissue. It's simply tissue that's got lymphatic filtered junk in it because the lymph vessels that run through those tissues aren't draining. So when they tell you you've got a cyst near your Adam's apple, it is definitely part of what's called the thoracic lymph vessel space. And you could literally, she's 10 years old, you could start massaging behind her ears, which release the mandible and clear out the throat. And first of all, why are they looking at a 10-year-old for a cyst anyway? Was she having pain? Because that's weird. Why are they looking at her and she's 10 and they tell her she has a cyst? Y'all, anytime they tell you you have a cyst, a polyp, or a tumor, and then they tell you that they want to do surgery on it, take your ass out the door and run as far away as you can, right? Because they're not going to be able to tell you where the cyst or the mass comes from. Are you going to ask them? You have to ask them. Okay, you tell me I have a cyst. What is it? Where is it from? How do I get rid of it? Because if you can't tell me how I got it, then cutting it out of my body isn't going to work because you don't even know what it is. So if they tell you that you have a cyst, mass, a polyp, or a tumor, and you ask them, so you see I'm giving you instruction, you ask them where it's from. Where did you get it? If they can't answer that question, if they cannot answer that question, they cannot help you. I can tell you where it comes from and I can get rid of it. If they can't, you cannot. Y'all are putting yourselves in so much detrimental risk when you are letting these doctors say to you in a sentence, I don't know your problem. Okay, so when they say that, conversation's over, right? I don't know your problem. Great. Nice to meet you. Possibly not. But if you're telling me I don't know, then there is nothing after I don't know that you should take as correct information. If they can't tell you why and how, they cannot give you a solution. Please tell me that makes logical sense to y'all. If you say to me, hey, Camille, so I want to know how I can drive this car, right? I don't know how to drive this car, but I want to drive this car. And I say to you, I don't know how to drive a car. Why are you going to sit there and listen to anything else that I say about driving a car when I just told you I don't know how to drive a car? So why are you going to let your doctor, who can't tell you what your problem is, then give you a solution to an answer and a question they don't have? That is not to be offensive to doctors. That is simply a result of the indoctrination of the system, period. And if we are not smarter than that, we are going to be some of the ones that are not here, right? So so Ms. Velez says she's been sick with a cold on and off for the last several weeks. Yeah, she's probably got the same shit I had. And it's a tonsil problem, right? Does she still have her tonsils? She still have her tonsils? If she still has her tonsils, it's right on top of the tonsils. And what they could do, they could get a salt rock, a massage, not a gun, but one of the massagers like the handheld percussor that I use, and they can simply massage. You could take your hands on her neck and just do this. Do this before she goes to sleep. You could take a salt rock and rub down her throat, because what's happening is it's most likely her tonsils, and she's got a cyst on her tonsils. That's why she's been sick on and off for several weeks. The tonsils are our doorway, right? So if the tonsils aren't filtering, then an illness that should be going down through the tonsils and into the lymphs keeps sitting in the throat. That's why she's sick. So all they need to do is massage her head, right? She can do teas. She could do a lot of water. If she's got that, she can also take a little salt. They can put a little salt in her water. She can drink some salt. She can massage, again, another place where she massages the clavicle. If you've got what they call cysts in and around the tonsils or in and around the thyroid, it's because, y'all, the lymph nodes in the clavicle that are meant to filter and take out the dirt are stuck. So they could rub her on her clavicle and release all of that, right? And remember, the head feeds the clavicle. So you always want to start at the head. They can take their hands, their knuckles, and massage around her head to open up the filters behind the ears that are going to drain the tonsils. If she's got a cyst, her tonsils aren't draining, and that's because the filters behind her ears are not open. Yeah. So yes, if you have one, give her a salt rock, get her a salt rock, and let them massage behind here, and then massage straight across the throat. Yeah, and gargling with salt water. There are a gazillion things that we can do for things like that. She could drink some mullein leaf tea. I mean, there are one thing they could take a very pure eucalyptus oil and put it in with some coconut oil and rub that across her throat. It's exactly where I pointed. Yeah, that's the tonsils. That's her tonsils. So she's just got a stagnant, little tonsillitis, right? And which is amazing. They haven't, see, this is what I'm saying. They're telling the child she has a cyst that they want to operate on, when if it's exactly where I pointed to, it's her freaking tonsils. Why they wouldn't go to like a tonsillitis or something first is indicative of what I'm saying about the system. The system wants to cut through the doorway of her filtration system for a problem they can't answer for her. It is banana. And would castor oil help? Absolutely. Castor oil is another thing. They could just take and rub along her neck. They could do a castor oil pack on her neck. They could take castor oil and put some heat on top of it. You could do massage. That is a problem that could go away like that. It's very, very quick. So please do not tell them, stop taking her to the doctor. Stop taking her to it is amazing to me. I'm even disgusted when they want to take out people's tonsils, but I would rather them have said, let's take out her tonsils than there's a cyst we have to operate on. Like, y'all, we have to get over this fear factor. We have to get over this fear factor where we're letting people cut through our systems when they have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. Absolutely not. D. Khalil Muhammad. Hello there. So yes, we have to work the clavicle, particularly for that, right? Because if things are stuck in the tonsils, what is on top and below the tonsils? The clavicle and the filters in the ears. So if we're stuck here, you have to open what's above and below to let that stuff filter. You're welcome. How do you feel about monthly colonics? So let me tell you about colonics, right? It is, to me, colonics are very beneficial. Yes? Let me say that. Two, we always have to remember that there is never any one thing that we could do for the body to make the body function better. Doing colonics as an adjunct to other things that you like to do for your health and wellness, fantastic. Wonderful, lovely, lovely, lovely. I think one of my affiliates who's a colonic specialist is on here. Me personally, I have a personal non-affinity to colonics because kids cover your ears. I like to sit on a toilet when I'm taking a shit. So colonics are a personal preference. Do they work, and are they really good to enhance your body's detox and wellness? Yes, they are. But you would also want to go to somebody who knows exactly what they're doing, because you could go to the wrong colonic therapist and they could do some damage to the colon. So Keith said, I recently got my chitterlings clean. See, I like my body to get rid of it like on its own, but some people, people love colonics, and I think they definitely can be a benefit to the detox cleaning. But again, like everything else we say, they cannot be done by themselves in order to be the way that you take care of your body. You have definitively got to increase your water. Colonics drain from bottom down. And so if you have a lymph system from the top, like your thoracic duct or your umbilicus in the belly button that's inflamed, colonics aren't going to do by themselves what you think they're going to do. But if you like them, if you like to have your system clean like that, go head on. Let that be your best friend. So yeah, to me, it's a personal preference. Do I think they're beneficial? Certainly I do. Absolutely. I just don't get them. I had a very crazy first experience one time, and I was like, yep, that's not for me. It was an experience, but definitely not for me. So I say, if you like them, then go ahead. My friend, Don Mack, you can't breathe. That's not a surprise. And I'm sad that you can't breathe. But I say that because those of you who are in the DMV area, Kenya, Don, all of y'all who are up there where they spray like y'all are roaches for real, y'all barely ever see the sun, like ever. I don't even like coming up there anymore. It is you all. I thought they sprayed a lot down here in Atlanta, but the way they spray up there is, I don't even know how to describe it. So I can even tell y'all, Don knows, when he came down here to visit me in Atlanta, and Aaron, you're up there too. See, y'all never see the sun. Y'all are completely under a physical haze every single day. And see, Don says it's happening to 3 other people. That's your air. That's why y'all can't breathe up there. It is a physical haze that you all live under. And so Don came down here to Atlanta to see us. And as soon as he got here, he could breathe. As soon as he got here, he could breathe. So for people who are up in the DMV or other areas where they spray excessively like that, New Jersey is crazy too. When you all are up in those places, for y'all, it is a constant committed water movement. Right? So for those of you who are up there and you can't breathe, particularly you, Don, the area between your ears and the band that connects across the occipital lobe and then down that jugular vein that I was just talking about for shoulder pain, you all almost daily have to take a massager and break that space open, because all of those chemicals that they're spraying go right up here and then they stick here, and you all cannot breathe because the molecules stick between the air hole and the filter, and this space then becomes essentially scar tissue. See, and Kenya's up there with y'all too. She says a lot of people have respiratory issues right now. I'm telling y'all, and let's not forget, they have aerosoled the bird flu. Y'all do know that, right? Remember last year, I showed you the video of the whistleblower from the 3-letter agency, I'm not going to say which one, who admitted that they were going to use the chemtrail planes to spray bird flu, right? So these respiratory issues, remember, this is what they did in COVID. At the end of 2019, all of these people got mysteriously sick with this respiratory illness that in 2020 they then released as a pandemic. They're doing the same thing right now with the bird flu. All of these people that are getting mysteriously ill with all of these respiratory diseases, all of these people are breathing this shit in the air. So for people who are particularly in DC, because I'm talking to y'all right now, y'all have to concentrate not just in between the ears and behind the jugular vein. Y'all have to do a lot of affect to the thoracic space from the bottom of your chin to the top of your breast cavity, right? And I mean consistent. I mean massaging, using your knuckles. You have to do a lot of Mullen T. You have to get on a vibration plate. Even something as simple as doing 20 or 25 jumping jacks every day, because you all are stuck here. Those molecules are so big and so toxic, you can't breathe through them. And they stick here, but then that means what's being filtered to the body is more toxin and mucus. So you've got to do facial steams. You have to use eucalyptus oil. You have to make sure that you are massaging this space every single day. If you have ivermectin, you need to take some ivermectin. Oh, that's the other thing I want to tell you. I want all of y'all. I don't care who's on this call, every single one of y'all. I want all of y'all to get one of the contagion kits from the Wellness Company. There is a wellness company, and it's called the Wellness Company, started by Dr. Drew, Dr. Peter McCullough, who I will listen to every single day for the rest of my life. They have started a wellness company, and they actually have a contagion kit that contains hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, generic Tamiflu, all of the things that are going to be scarce coming up soon that you need to keep in your house. And Aaron Mack says, I do mullein and nettle tea regularly. Aaron, do you think that helps you? That would definitely help. Teas every day, Don, all of these respiratory diseases. These are things, I'm telling y'all, what I went through 2 weeks ago is not a game. These molecules are sticking in your face and your tonsils so much and so quickly that it is very, very difficult to breathe. Very difficult to breathe. So you need to do essential oils inhalers. Don, I'll send you one of mine. I'll make one. Also, if you all go to, what's the name of my spot? Spiritual Quest. Maybe I'll put the link in here. Spiritual Quest is a company that makes salt inhalers that I love, that you can ingest through the mouth and through the nose, which cleans your whole sinus cavity and will clean your chest. The other thing you could do, food grade hydrogen peroxide. You could take a little bit and put it in a little bottle, squirt it up your nose. You could simply drain it up your nose. That'll clean all of that stuff out. Definitely tea. You're coming down here? Lovely. You coming down here? That's fantastic. You know you can come see me. Come get on the table, sir. So you could do food grade hydrogen peroxide. You could do things like, of course, gargling salt water. You could put a little salt water, a little salt in your water. You could do a combination of that and doing this Celtic salt under your tongue, a little pebble of the Celtic salt underneath your tongue. Don, if you're still on the stem cells, double your stem cell intake. Those of you all who are on stem cells, and if you're not on stem cells, I can't tell you how many times you have to be on the stem cell product. The reason we don't get well faster is because the body can't create its own antibodies through stem cells like they should. And so the body keeps fighting instead of being able to create the antibodies through stem cells that they need. That's why I keep telling y'all to go online and get the stem cells. It's so easy. It's a little packet. You keep it in the refrigerator. You open the packet and you drink it on your way out the door. Your body only heals through the creation of antibodies through stem cells. If you are not, we are in a time right now where our poor bodies are in fight mode all of the time. Yes, if you are not feeling well, Miss Naturalista, double your dose of stem cells. Absolutely. Pregnant women can take stem cells. Yeah, they can. Now, when I say we're in fight mode, so the people like up in DC, when I say fight mode, we're no longer protected in our homes, right? We do know the air comes in our house. So you should always have salt lamps In every place in your house, every room in your house, you should have a salt lamp, because you need to have something that is cleaning the air in your space by creating negative ions to kill the free radicals, right? So that air is coming in our house. But then we go outside, right? And as soon as we go outside, our body's in fight mode instantaneously. And then if we're adding coffee or, I don't know, fast food or quick breakfast or Starbucks or sugar on top of a system that's in fight mode, that system never comes out of fight mode. And so you are constantly inflamed over and over and over. And I'm speaking to one of my besties, Don. If you're not sleeping enough, your body cannot reset. If you are not allowing your body to rest the amount of time that it needs to rest, you are not giving your body a chance to reset, right? You absolutely are not giving your body a chance to reset. So you've got to have air purifiers in your house. I actually spray eucalyptus oil in my filters. So eucalyptus oil is coming out and cleaning the air in the house. We have to inundate our body with things that help it, because our bodies are just draining. They're draining every day. We're not eating real food. I mean, and I like Atlanta because we have farmers markets, but even the food and the fruit and the vegetables that come from the farmers markets are gone in 2 days. They're bad in 2 days. Insecticides, pesticides, all of that stuff is in our food. Humidifiers are kind of old school, right? The air is too bad for a humidifier. You actually need an air purifier. A salt lamp, a Himalayan salt lamp, is like a natural humidifier. But you want to have things in your house that are clean. People need to make sure that your filters are clean. If you have a dog in your house or multiple like me, you got to change your filters double time, right? When I was sick a couple weeks ago and I scanned myself, I was able to see a parasite in my system that actually came from dog hair, from dander. That's the other thing I'm telling y'all. Oh my God, you have to get the scanning software, because you could scan yourself every day and literally see what types of things that you're doing for your body are working for you by looking at the scanner every morning. No doctors, no tests. The scanner literally tells you every single place in your body where you have an imbalance in your water. And because it's a software that you could keep using as many times as you want, I could scan myself, see where I'm inflamed. I could go do something and scan myself again and see what that's done to that particular issue, right? Oh, Manuka, honey, and you're in LA too. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of y'all in LA. I'm so angry for y'all. I don't even know what to do. So if you're in a space like DC or LA or anywhere where there are fires, or it's not even isolated anymore, y'all. This is us. We are all under this firmament of chemical spray that we can't get away from. So this is what I'm going to say to people. We're at a point now where becoming uninflamed is not a thing. We can't. Our environment is inflammation. We're not going to be at a point where we're going to be without parasites. We're not going to be at a point where we're going to be detoxed. There isn't anything that we can do that will set our body into a state of detox. We are living in a time where the necessity to live has to be a consistent journey of moving the water, and it never stops. It never stops. There is never a day where I am not doing something to affect my water, whether it is drinking multiple teas, whether it's percussing my head, whether it's percussing my limbs, whether it's getting on the vibration plate, whether we cannot come home from work. We cannot come home from work and do nothing. We cannot come home from work and sit on the couch and look at a computer or look at a TV. We cannot do it without doing something that releases the water. We've been out all day in the environment, or we've been at home sitting. Both of those things are equally detrimental to the body because there has been no movement of your water during the day. You have got to do 20 jumping jacks before you get into bed. You have to get on your vibration plate or exercise. You have to get up early in the morning and stimulate your water, because if you're not doing it consciously, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's absolutely not happening at all. You have got to make a conscious and consistent effort, and you will be able to tell the difference when you do it and when you don't do it. You'll be able to tell, but we can't not do it. Many of us sit all day at work. So here's the deal. Let me say this. For those of y'all that work from home or have a job where you sit all day, do you know, so let's make it simple. For every hour that you sit, in order to move the lymphatic toxins that have dumped in that hour that you sit, you need to do 50 jumping jacks. For every hour that you sit, you have to do 50 jumping jacks or some comparative exercise. I say 50 jumping jacks because you all can visualize that. Imagine if you're sitting 8 hours a day. Imagine if you're sitting 8 hours a day, that's 400 jumping jacks, or an exercise that activates the lymphs in that same way. Y'all, we have to get the water moving. You cannot allow yourself to sit and then be like, oh, I'm going to be a vegan, or I'm only going to eat vegetables, and think that's going to be the only thing. We're not at that point anymore. Our bodies are in fight mode and need our help so much. We cannot let the body down. We absolutely cannot. So every hour of the day that you sit, you got to do 50 jumping jacks or some sort of comparative activity that's going to allow you to move your water. For every hour. Y'all, imagine how much we sit. Imagine how much we sit at home and we don't do anything to move the water, because we come home from work, we sit some more, then we eat, then we sit some more, then we go and do what? And then we go and lay down. We're at a point now, you better hope that you're up doing some sort of deep meditative breathing in the morning and then some sort of exercise throughout the day or at night. Otherwise, where is your body going to get the necessary movement of its water to let you breathe and let you eat? Many of us who are having respiratory problems aren't moving enough. You're not moving enough. How do you breathe? You breathe through your water. The oxygen is carried through the lymph water in your body. If you're not moving and the lymph water is not moving, you're not breathing. You can't breathe and you can't eat and you can't think if the water's not moving. So you've got to do everything you can to move that water. You need to feed it the right amount of minerals. You need to feed it the right amount of salt. Those minerals are salt. You need to make sure that you feed it the right focus. Many of us, particularly in the IT space, many of y'all that are working in the IT space don't use your brain during the day. Not to be offensive. I'm going to explain it to you in a minute. You are looking at screens the majority of the day, which sets your natural frequency in your brain to rest mode, right? So you're being fed all day through a frequency of a computer or the frequency of a phone, which means you're technically not activating your natural brain space because you're not asking questions, you're not doubting, you are not using imagination. You're being fed. That's very detrimental. And you're being fed while you sit. You sit and you're not using brain function, right? You're not reading. You're not asking questions. You're not thinking. You're being fed Those things are very dangerous. And if you're like that all day and you come home and then you sit and you eat and then you go to bed, when, my people, when, my friends, are you actually giving your body its fuel to function? You're not. Food's not going to do it by itself. Exercise is not going to do it by itself. Percussion is not going to do it by itself. Stem cells is not going to do it by itself. Reading is not going to do it by itself. You get what I'm saying? The revolution in the body takes an entire system of things that activate that water. And we are in dire mode right now. People are literally dropping off the face of this earth because what we've got in the environment stops the movement of the water. Period. Point blank, period. So if you are not cognizant of how much you sit and then how much you move, and people ask me all the time, Camille, I don't understand why I feel well. How much do you sit a day? You sit 8 hours? If you sit 8 hours and you're not exercising for at least an hour, you're inflamed, you're toxic, you have a problem, period. Y'all, we are at that point. We are at final day time where we have to fight the environment. Our bodies are tired and they can't do this on their own, and they can't do it with one thing. Period. So those of you up in the DC area, particularly who aren't breathing, you have to inundate your body with everything you know that moves your water. And you have to include, particularly Don, you were talking about breathing. You have to include, remember when you were here, that thoracic space. And that's the other thing. When you're not breathing, you guys, take off your shirts and look in the mirror and look across the top of the chest. You will be able to see in the swelling on top of the chest the inflammation that is causing you not to breathe. You could take your knuckle and literally do this with your knuckle. And I'm using medium to hard pressure because I'm trying to break the scar tissue in the vessels that's blocking the water. And you could do this in the mirror. And some of you will start to cough. Some of you will clear your throat. And you can literally see it, but you got to pay attention. That's the other thing we do. We do all these things and we don't look in the mirror. All you got to do is look in the mirror. Look at what just happened to my face. Look at what just happened to my face. You see what I just did on this side. Look at the difference between this side of my face and this side of my face. You see how this side just lifted like I blew air in it? I didn't touch my face, y'all. The body is one unit. I touched here, which drains from here. So you have to start paying attention to yourself. You have to look and see in the mirror, right? Exactly. It's slimmer. And all I did was open the vessel here, but these vessels are connected to here. Same thing. If I had done the same thing behind my ear and I was looking in the mirror, then my breast would have been smaller. So it's one unit. It's one system. I just pray. And in fact, I gave y'all homework last week and I almost forgot. I gave y'all homework. What homework did I give you? I gave you 3 topics and I told y'all to pick one thing that you could do in each of those topics to make yourself better. I talked about ingesting water and increasing your water. Who did that? And I also talked about movement. Who did that? I also talked about breathing. Who did that? I give y'all the answers and then y'all don't do it. Then y'all don't do it and then you want to ask me why things don't work, right? Because y'all don't, it's almost like the answers that I give are so simple. Y'all are like, they can't work, so I'm not even going to do them. Okay, well, you're not. Thank you, Miss Velez. You did your homework. That's why I love you. That's why I love you, right? That is exactly why I love you. So we have to make sure, y'all, that you're paying attention. You can't. The ultimate test of whether something is working is your body. And just like my body just showed you in seconds what worked for it is very simple. But if you weren't looking or you weren't paying attention, you don't think those things work. They work all the time. The body, the only thing the body was designed to give us. Now I got to do the other side because my boobs are uneven. See, doing that for 10 seconds, not even 10 seconds, lifted my boob. Anyway, you have to pay attention to you because you'll be going down the same rut thinking that what you're doing isn't working because you're not looking at yourself. You're not paying attention. Dark Sun, you did your homework as well. So Miss Velez and Dark Sun, did those things actually work for you? Did they make a difference? Did you feel better? Did you pay attention to how you felt? Miss Velez says, since I started doing jumping jacks, as I've increased them, I found that I do have a what? A waist. A waist. And many people go and do what? Go and do surgery to get a waist when all you have to do is move the water so that it balances in the body and the natural contour of the body is going to come out. It's just that, right? And then Ms. Velez says, I get a very light headache when I don't drink. Yes, because your body is telling you, I need the water in order to use water to filter. Many people are like, Camille, I don't like water. How is that? Your body is water. It breathes through water. It eats through water. It filters and cleans the septic system through water. How is it that your brain does not think it likes water, right? And Dark Sun says they continue to make a difference since I started last year. I love that. Love that. Saw that there were parasites in the fog. Okay. Absolutely. There was a lot more than parasites in that fog, y'all. That was a lot more than parasites. And I just had a conversation with my affiliates about parasites. Let me say this about parasites. Just like I talked about the colonics. What's up, Positive P? When we talk about parasite cleanses, I need y'all to remember something very, very important because as Americans, we are very into the trends. Everybody's like, I should do a parasite cleanse. I should do a heavy metal cleanse. I should do a 60-day detox. Listen, y'all, do y'all know the system that gets rid of the parasite? It's your lymph system, right? It's your lymph system. So those of y'all running to do a parasite cleanse who don't like to drink water, who don't like to exercise, who have a very bad diet, parasite cleanses are going to make you sick, right? They're going to make you sick. Heavy metal detoxes are going to make you sick if you don't stimulate the system that is supposed to drain you of dead parasites and heavy metals, first and foremost. Second of all, you know the one thing that kills parasites like that? Oxygen. You know where oxygen flows in your body? In the lymph water. So I'm saying this to you all because I want you to stop thinking so specific when every function in the body has a general functionality, which is through the lymphs. Yes. So when you do a parasite cleanse or you do a heavy metal cleanse and you feel like shit, that's because your lymph system wasn't in the space to drain you from those heavy metals and the parasites. Again, the reason why Camille's focus is always on the lymph system. If the lymph water is flowing, the automation in the creation of our lymph water is to always filter out stuff like parasites. I will also say this, y'all, we're never without parasites. I don't know who started telling people that we could get rid of parasites and be done with parasites and be parasite free. We eat them, we breathe them, they're in our pets, they're in stagnation of our lymph water. The idea is not to rid the body of parasites. The idea is to keep your body internally in such a highly aerobic state that you are alkaline inside and parasites can't live. But the idea is not to just be like, oh, I'm going to go attack a parasite. Okay, so if you attack a parasite in a body that has a lymph system that's not flowing, do you know where that dead parasite goes? It stays in your gut. And then you feel horrible. And then you have no idea why you feel like that. Because you killed something that the body wasn't ready to move out, right? So that's the point. So parasite cleanses in conjunction with other things that you are doing to stimulate your lymphatic function are fine, but you cannot do them as a way to get rid of parasites without stimulating the system that's supposed to remove them, whether it's heavy metals or it's parasites, right? Remember, the idea of this water-based lymph is so powerful, y'all. It's so powerful. It is so powerful. All you need to do is flow the water. That's it. Because where do stem cells, which create antibodies, which fix your body, where do they come from? The lymph water. Everything comes from the lymph water. Your blood doesn't even flow without the lymph water. They got y'all scared as bejesus about blood clots. It's not a blood clot. It's a lymph clot that if the lymphs aren't flowing, the blood doesn't flow, and then there's a clot. Who cares if the blood clots? That's not the problem. The problem is the lymph water that is not flowing through the blood enough to flow your blood, right? Another thing, Aaron Mack, yes, tinctures. You guys, one thing about nature are there are thousands of combinations of natural things that you could do to enhance your lymphatic function. And it is all about what you like, whether it's teas, tinctures, herbs, plants, essential oils, salt. There are a gazillion different ways and different combinations of things that you can take that will make you better. You just have to figure out where you're deficient. Remember, we talked about that last week. I can't tell Don what works for me because Don's not me. I'm not Don. I can't tell Aaron what to take because Aaron's not me. I have to know where Camille is deficient in order to know what I need to put in to Camille. Nobody's going to be able to tell you that because nobody knows. And cordyceps too. Oh my God, mushrooms, my favorite thing. Mushrooms are my favorite thing. For many reasons, but mushrooms are my favorite thing. So there are cordyceps are one of the things that increase oxygen so much in the body that you feel it as soon as you take them. I mean, there are so many things that you could do and take, and you should do multiples, right? That should be the main part of your diet, is what type of mineral, plant, herbal supplementation you could put into this natural nature, right? You know, we are plants and trees. Trees are lungs, yeah? Our lungs process out the CO2 like trees do. Like, y'all, this is like you eat walnuts for the brain. Like these things are not coincidental. They're not things that are cute. They're created in nature just like they're created. So I want to show y'all something. Look at what's happening to my body if you're paying attention. I simply took my knuckles on top of my thoracic space on top of the heart. And while I've been sitting here, my face is still draining. And not only my face, my shoulder on this side is lifting, where the fluid is now moving. And remember, tissue in the body is buoyant. When the water starts to flow, the tissues fill up like balloons, right? Boobs lift, the body evens out. Those of y'all who are doing the jumping jacks, you see your waist right now. Like everything that the body needs and everything that you need to do for the body can be done with hands. Can be done with your hands. That's why we have them. That's why these are knuckles. You notice like monkeys, gorillas, what do they walk on? Their knuckles. These things are very strong and they're formed like they are to be able to feel and break through stagnation in the lymph vessels. We just have to use it, right? I'm sorry, Miss Naturalista, cordyceps are a type of mushroom, all right? Exactly. Walnuts look like our brains. Yes, because they are meant to feed the brain. All right. See? Oh, very good. Miss Lamoth said her breasts are higher since she's been treating her face. See what I'm saying? All of these things that we go outside of the body to get done and spend money on can be done instantaneously in the mirror by yourself, which is why I have these healing hands, these master classes. Monday night, I'm going to teach y'all how to get rid of eczema from home because it's very easy. So if you have not gotten your spot yet, please get your spot for Monday. We are going to be going over eczema, and I'm going to tell you how to get rid of it. So somebody asked me about plantar fasciitis. So plantar fasciitis is partly an issue that comes when we wear shoes. We're not meant to wear shoes, y'all. You do know that? You do know there's no universal shoe for people to wear that's going to be comfortable for everybody, because we were not meant to wear shoes, right? The foot was formed with the metatarsal arch so that it bends when we walk. If you're putting something hard or relatively hard under that metatarsal arch, that's like sitting during the day. So you know the metatarsal arch under the foot is curved, right? If you put a shoe underneath that, you're flattening that bone. You're putting trauma against that bone all day, every day in the shoe, and it creates fluid that builds underneath the metatarsal arch. If you don't fix that, that fluid starts to build back behind the ankle, right? Back behind the heel, and then up the back of the calf. So when people have what they call plantar fasciitis, there are lots of ways to get rid of that. One, you need to assess the shoes that you wear on a regular basis, right? Because they're not the right ones. There aren't any right ones. We should have the grounding shoes. But people who have plantar fasciitis, if you take a tennis ball and rub your foot along that tennis ball, and you rub it from the toe all the way to the heel and then back up along the heel, that tennis ball will pop out the fluid that is causing that inflammation. 1. 2, you could take about a cup of Himalayan salt and soak your feet and your ankles in that water. 3, you could take a vibrating percussor and vibrate underneath the metatarsal arch and underneath the toes, shrinking the inflammation under the metatarsal arch, which will bring that heel back into position. So plantar fasciitis is the same issue that we were talking about earlier with the shoulder, where the water builds and pushes the bone out of position. It's the same thing with plantar fasciitis. Plantar fasciitis is an extension of the foot and the heel, taking the calf out of position, and it's all water, right? So you have to break up the water, the standing water, as well as the scar tissue that's underneath, right? And that takes consistency. So you also want to do ankle circles, and you want to do lifting and pointing and flexing exercises, because somebody who has plantar fasciitis has scar tissue along the heel that's taking the calf with it, and that hurts. That hurts like hell. So you can massage the foot and you massage the whole foot, right? People also who have plantar fasciitis also had bunions or hammer toe first, because that is the buildup. Bunions are scar tissue around the bone. And so just like anywhere else in the body, if scar tissue builds, the body keeps sending fluid to the area to try to fix the problem. But that means swelling keeps swelling and keeps swelling and keeps swelling, and will push bones out of the way, and then you hurt, right? How do you get rid of bunions? Oh, that's easy. That's easy. Bunions are supremely easy. So I told y'all in my Amazon shop, I have that shiatsu massager that is one of my favorite. Is one of my favorites. You get that. You take that massager, you put it on high, and you hold that joker on your bunion, and you do it until it goes away. Literally, that's it. Like literally, that's it. That's it. That's all. You literally percuss the bunion away. Now, when you're working on bunions, right? You don't, so I'm going to show you. Oh, you did buy it. Excellent. You can use that on the bunion, but I want you to know what causes the bunion. I'm going to show you my little socks here. You see my little toe socks. So when you have a bunion, the bunion is on top of this bone, but it's not created by this. It's created by walking in a shoe, and then this underneath the actual bunion becomes super inflamed and pushes the toe up in the shoe, creating the bunion. So when you massage the bunion itself, and you can go right underneath and hold here, and it will break that bunion too. Absolutely. And our Himalayan salt rocks absolutely will knock that joker out in a minute. Because remember, what is a bunion? It's a bunch of stagnant minerals, right? It's a bunch of stagnant minerals that got hard right in that space. So you feed the minerals back to the bunion and it'll break and go away, right? Yeah. Oh, Tony just came. Tony, I just saw your message earlier, and we talked about y'all that are up in the DMV area. See, Don? Tony is another one who's having breathing problems up in the DMV. Y'all, that is your air, and I feel so bad for y'all because it's really bad. So, Tony, there's some things that we talked about, activating these thoracic ducts. If you're not breathing, it's because your space in the middle of the chest is not open. So you've got to take your knuckles or a percussor and just do this across your chest. And you're not going to hurt yourself, right? People are like, well, Camille, I don't want to hurt myself. That's the other thing about the body. You can't, right? When you're doing this, even if I'm doing it with hard pressure, right? I'm not hurting myself when I do it, but I'm doing this enough to break open any vessels that are inflamed so that I can start to breathe. People up in the DMV, if you all are not breathing, you have got to do this and then across your clavicle to the shoulder and then back down in the middle of your chest across the other side of your clavicle space and open up particularly your axillaries. Because if y'all are having problems breathing, all of this right now is mucus. All of that is mucus. Hi, Tayden. Can you tell your dad to watch this? I just answered his question. That's unfortunately what's happening up there where y'all live. It's so good to see you, Tayden. So you guys, we have to move. You have to move. That's part of the problem. These molecules that we are breathing outside are sticking in our lymph vessels. And if the vessels aren't moving fast enough, they will block the lungs. So Tayden, you also tell your dad he's got trouble breathing. I want him to do what I just said to do here across the top of his chest. And you do it hard enough to move. You do it under the arms. And then y'all, you come under the breast cavity and do it on the lungs. The lungs sit underneath the breast. So we have to open. Tayden, he can also use that massager behind his head. Unfortunately, this is where we are, y'all. This is where we are, where people aren't going to be able to breathe. We're not breathing clean air anymore. We now have to create it, right? We have to create it. And creating it means moving the water. All right, last question. Somebody asked me about a diagnosis of CSER. Y'all know I don't say CANCER because they'll block me. So I call it CSER. Let me say this to y'all. Because the numbers of CSER that are increasing and exploding right now are only going to get worse. And I need y'all to really listen to me when I say this. CSER isn't a thing. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. It is a word that they have scared the living bejesus out of you with that means nothing. Why do you think they've spent billions, trillions of dollars in research for how many decades and can't fix the problem? And they still don't know the origin. And now we have more like Turbo CSER and all of these new CSERs. If y'all don't get it, please take what I'm saying more than anything else you've ever taken in your life and understand that CSER is not a thing. I'm going to explain it to you as the situation that it is with the only way you can fix it. How do I know? Because my clients don't have CSER anymore. Because you have to understand what it isn't. You go to a doctor and a doctor tells you that you have CSER. And what do? Very first thing you do, you get so scared. You get so scared and you're like, oh my God, I have to do chemo. Oh, wait a minute. Chemo is poison. I'm not telling you that. They tell you that. That's what they tell you, right? I want you to know this. I want you to know this. And please stop being scared of that word. because I'm going to be able to tell you how and why you have a diagnosis of CSER. They can't tell you that. I can tell you that. And I can tell you how to get rid of it, right? But going to a doctor is not going to do it because they weren't trained to fix you. They were only trained to find a problem. They don't have the parameters to even fix you because that's not what they went to school for. They went to school to find a problem. Your body has a septic system, right? The only reason your body gets sick is because the septic system is not moving, right? That's it. That's it. That's all. Your septic system is not moving. What are some of the reasons that they diagnose you with something called CSER? You get a blood test and they tell you your antibodies are high. Your antibodies should be high. Our antibodies should be high going outside, breathing that mess outside. If you ate a hamburger or drank a cocktail, you should have high antibodies. That doesn't mean your body is bad. That means your body's doing exactly what it's supposed to. And if they can't tell you what your antibodies are high from, they have no idea whether you had a stressful day, your kid got on your nerves, you broke up with somebody. All of those things raise your white blood cell antibody count. But the fact that you have antibodies means that your body is functioning the way it's supposed to function, right? Or they'll give you a blood test, or they'll tell you they found a mass. Remember what I said earlier? Mass, polyps, cysts, tumors are all the same thing. But what are they? They can't tell you what they are, but I'm going to tell you what they are. I'm going to tell you that they are simply masses of tissue where the lymphatic vessels have had a block in them for some reason. You ate something, you thought something, and the minerals blocked in the lymph water. Over time, that blockage causes a backup in the lymph vessel. But if the lymph system is trying to filter out junk, and that junk can't get through the lymph vessel to get out in the body, it's going to overflow into the tissues. And that, my people, is what they call a cyst, a mass, or a tumor. It is not a separate CSER cell that was always in the body. That's the biggest, stupidest fucking lie in the world, that you tell people they actually have cancer cells. You know how stupid you think the creator created us with cancer cells? No, they don't know what a CSER cell is. That's part of the proof. And so when they tell you you have these masses, you don't need to cut them out, because you know what they're cutting out? They're cutting out the lymph node trash cans that are put there for your body to be able to filter and heal, which is why CSER never, ever takes anybody off this planet. The treatment of CSER does, because their treatment is damaging to the one system that's supposed to heal you in the first place. But y'all get so scared of a word that they cannot associate with a description or a situation, and then you let them tell you that you're going to take poison to try to fix the problem they don't have a question for. We can't. The increase of, and this is proof, right? The increase in CSER diagnoses since the COVID shot, if that's not proof to you, because they put chemical blockages into your system that is creating backups that are causing people to now get what they call turbo CSER. Are you shitting me? Y'all have been researching this for how many decades? And now not only have you not fixed the problem, now we got different ones, we got new ones, we got more. Y'all have to understand the racket. And I'm passionate because so many of y'all are not going to get it. And you're going to be in that doctor's office, in the hospital, in chemo, on your way out of this place, because you don't allow yourself to ask questions that are necessary for you not to be out of here from ill logic. The danger in our system is the one system that was meant to get rid of these blockages and get rid of these tumors and masses are the one system. It's the one system they can't see. Your doctors don't even know lymph vessels exist. They know the lymph nodes exist, but they don't know the vessels exist, and the vessels are the important part. What do they do when they tell you they have CSER? They go and do a biopsy, right? On what? The trash can? They do a biopsy on the lymph node? The lymph node should be dirty. The lymph node should be dirty. It's the trash can. That's not the problem. The problem is the route. And the route is the lymph vessel that has the block in it, but they can't see the vessel. All they see is the block. The block is the little white thing that they see on an x-ray that is full of mineral toxin that the body was trying to get out. It encapsulated it. And then there was a block and the water couldn't take it out. All you got to do is reset the water so the water can get rid of those cysts, mass, polyps, and tumors. How do I know that? Because that's what I do. That's what I do. You don't ask me, ask my clients. Ask my clients. That's the reason, y'all. My clients who have been told they have CSER and get on the stem cells don't have CSER anymore because the minerals in the stem cell product feed the minerals in the lymph vessel, getting rid of the blockages, allowing the body to heal itself. Why do you think people who go raw don't have CSER anymore? What is a raw diet? It's minerals. We are made of minerals. If there is a block in the body and they see these little white spaces in x-rays, that white space, that's the mineral salt that's simply blocked in the vessel. You don't go in and cut that out. You simply open up the vessel and let the body in its automation do what the body wants to do. Yeah, you gotta, listen, Pretty K, you gotta do the scanner. The scanner is, the scanner is fantastic. I think Phoenix and I are gonna do a live about the scanner. Y'all have to see what this scanner sees. It proves that all of the function is in your water. It literally proves it, and it gives you 3D identifiers of where your body's water is not balanced. It is mind-blowing. I will have it and use it for the rest of my life. So those of y'all, and listen, many of y'all say to me, yeah, Camille, I have family members who are told they have CSER and they don't want to do anything holistic. Don't try talking to them. People who are already scared and in the mindset that they are sick can't get better because they're telling themselves they're sick and they're telling themselves they can't get better. Some people who have been diagnosed with CSER instantly turn off their brain and their expectation becomes they're going to get sick and die. That's their expectation. That's what they fed to their body. I have stopped talking to anybody that's a friend, a family member. I don't care who they are. If they're not open to hearing about holistic modalities, they're not open in doing it. They have already set their body in sickness and death. Sorry. They just, and for those people, I don't know, Don, I'll post when we're going to do that live, possibly soon, maybe this weekend. And the other thing is, I'm going to say this 100%. You cannot do chemo and do holistic and expect it to work. Period. Point blank, period. I personally, I don't know about my other affiliates, but I will not see people who are going to do chemo. Why in the hell would you come to me for the anti-venom and keep going back to get bit by the cobra? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? You want me to give you the anti-hemlock and then you want to go back and drink it. Okay, that's on you, but you're not going to come see me at the same time because you're wasting your energy, and my time, none of which I like to be wasted. You cannot, do not let anybody who tells you, oh, I was diagnosed with CSER, but I'm going to try to do holistic, but I'm doing chemo. You ain't doing holistic shit. Nothing. And holistic is not going to work for you because you keep feeding poison into the system that we're trying to clean out and work out, right? So those people I just don't talk to. Unfortunately, those people are on, because if they were open to it, they wouldn't go and do chemo in the first place. They would have gone straight to holistic. People who aren't open to it aren't going to do what they need to do anyway, because it's a commitment. Like if your system is slow enough where you have things like cysts and mass and polyps, you have to do consistent work, right? It's a commitment. But if your commitment is going to the doctor and swallowing poison every month, You're not ever going to be committed to doing what you need to do holistically to make yourself better. Those people literally are just gone. They're gone. We could talk to them all day. But I have discharged people before who have come to me and they started to feel better. Then they went back to the doctor because they wanted to see if their doctor was going to tell them they were better. Of course they weren't. But your body told you were feeling better. Went back to the doctor, got scared into chemo, and I was like, goodbye. You can't come back and see me. You can't, right? You can't. What? I tried explaining that to a nurse and she just couldn't get it. She had breast cancer, changed her diet, and still did chemo. Oh my God, it's a fear factor, y'all. It's definitely a fear factor. Somebody just asked me, and I'll answer this before we get off. Somebody just asked me about mammograms. This is my face about mammograms. Why in the shit would you ever do a mammogram? That is the worst thing ever to do. Ever. Because the breasts are lymph tissue. There are minerals that run through the lymph vessels. And when they collapse those lymph vessels, then whatever mineral sand or sediment might be in them, they'll tell you there's a mass or a polyp or whatever they tell you is in the breast, which you could very easily open like this. That's it. You feel something hard in the breast, you just do this. Open the water, y'all. Open the water. And if you had the scanner, you would never think about needing a mammogram anyway, because the scanner reads every single system in your body and tells you where your body is currently out of balance. Period. Point blank. Period. Do I suggest mammograms? Never, ever in your life. Unless you want to be diagnosed with something you don't want to have, then go get a mammogram. Otherwise, don't you dare. Don't you dare. That's part of this crazy philosophy where doctors are going to squeeze a boob that they don't know what it's made of because they think it's only tissue and not lymph vessel. They don't know that there are minerals running through those lymph vessels. And the only thing that they are taught to read is something that a human taught them, which has nothing to do with the body itself. Mammogram's dumb. And if you don't think this is all corporate, what is happening right now, y'all? Y'all's insurance companies are calling you at your house to tell you to come in for your annual visits. Are you shit? If y'all don't think this is all about money and not about you, I don't know how else to convince you. I don't. Remember, any test that a doctor gives you was created by a human who didn't create the body, who doesn't understand that there is a water-based lymph system inside of the body. So the tests that they give you are limited to human functionality. Human functionality can't heal you. Only you can. Your inside water is the only thing. So stop going to them to assess a problem. If you want to know if you have a problem, you ask your body. Body, I feel okay today? What do I feel? Or, oh my God, the pharmacies are calling too. I can't stand this place. I can't stand this place. I can't. Because see what they're doing? Now they're coming in your home and they're scaring you and telling you that you need your drugs and you need to come and see the doctor so that they could give you a problem you don't have. If you want to know that whether you're well, you ask your body. You get up in the morning, you look in the mirror and you say, body, how do I feel today? You take your hands and you feel around, feel under your arms, feel your hips. Do you feel soreness anywhere? Okay, well then that's a little stagnant water. You just take your knuckles and tap that open. You look at your body naked in the mirror. Is one side uneven compared to the other side? Well, use your knuckles to even that out. Remember, it's water. Your body is your greatest signal flag. It will tell you any and every single solitary thing that's wrong with your body. You simply have to ask it and look at it. That's like Monday. Monday, y'all, we are doing a masterclass on eczema. We are doing a masterclass on eczema on Monday. I am going to show you how to get rid of eczema from home, because eczema is another exhibition that your lymph water isn't moving. And I'm going to prove it to you. So y'all got to go get your spots. You got to go online and under services, I think it's under wellness experiences, and you could sign up for Monday. Monday, we're doing eczema. We're doing blood issues. Next month, I'm going to keep teaching y'all as much as I can until y'all decide you don't need this stupid system, right? That's funny. Manuka Honey says, how about the other types of scans that do ultrasound version? Mammogram hasn't resonated with me. Excellent. I'm glad you listened to yourself. If anybody is going to do anything on a breast, you do a thermography, not an ultrasound. You do a thermography, because ultrasounds work to assess what's happening in the tissues, but not in the surrounding water. So if you want to do something like a mammogram, which if we all knew better, we wouldn't need to do that. We've got a scanner. You've got your hands. You can feel it. If you're going to do anything, do a thermography, because what does a thermography read? Heat. And where is heat? Heat is in the vessels where the water isn't free flowing. And so the oxygen isn't cooling it, right? So yeah, we got to do, oh, can I do a masterclass on prostate health? Yeah, I'm doing prostate. That's what it is. I'm doing eczema on Monday. Next month, we're doing blood issues. Then we're doing neurological issues. And then we're doing prostate and menopause issues. So yes, that is on the upcoming reminder. And remind me, I have to tell y'all something next week because I'm about to get off. But there's something related to the prostate that I need to talk to y'all about next week. Prostate. Okie dokie. How about alternatives to a colonoscopy? Don't get a colonoscopy. A colonoscopy for what? For what? People go and get a colonoscopy, and what do they always tell you? You have a bunch of polyps in your colon. Of course you do. Of course. It's mucus. It's part of the little lymph water that's mixed with the mucous membranes. There's no need for a colonoscopy for what? For what? The idea of these tests is that the doctors can preclude or presuppose that they're stopping something that hasn't happened yet. So, alternative to a colonoscopy? Yeah, you get the scanner. The scanner will tell you everything that's going on in your colon, where you're out of balance. Remember, tests are stupid because we are water, y'all. They give you a test at 12 p.m. At 12:10, 12:05, 12:02, that exact same test is going to look very different. Soon as you get up, change positions, go drink a little bit of water, that result in that test they just gave you isn't even going to be the same test. It's not going to be the same result. The only thing that can tell you what your body is doing is your body. And they love to talk about giving people colonoscopies. Okay, so the colon lives in the abdominal cavity with all of the other organs, but you're only going to test the colon like the colon is the only place in the body that processes shit. Like, it's dumb. It's like diabetes. You go and test the kidneys, right? You go and test the kidneys as if all of the food that we eat passes through every other organ, and the only thing that the kidneys are supposed to process is certain types of molecules of sugar and carbs and all that other stuff. It doesn't make any sense. It's completely illogical. You go and skip every other organ and tell people they have a malfunctioning kidney. Wait a minute. You forgot the pancreas, the gallbladder, the spleen, the liver. You're saying that the molecules of food go straight down here and ignore all of the other organs and then just stop at the kidneys? Like, this is what I'm saying. All of these tests that they deem are so important compartmentalize the body when the body is one unit. You can never test one part of the body without assessing everything else that's connected to it. The water of the lymphs doesn't skip one organ and go to another. All of the organs are in the gut because they have the same vortex lymphatic tract. So telling people that they have something like diabetes is insane. It's insanity. Telling people they have CSER is stupid. Telling people they have all of this stuff is simply an imbalance in their water, which is why they can never fix it, right? And even if all these things they say you have that have to be fixed, who ends up fixing them if you fix them? You do. If they tell you you have diabetes, who has to go and eat right and exercise and drink the water and take all their narcotic drugs? You do. So why do you keep listening to them? They can't help you. They haven't helped you. All they've made you do is sicker. All they've made you do is status quo in the same illness you've had for how many decades? Y'all, it doesn't make any sense. Y'all keep making illogical shit make sense to you. And I don't understand that. I don't. It's a simple question. It's fear mongering. Why is the one system, and you know we're the only country in the world that has a big pharma, but we're the sickest, most addictive, the fattest, the meanest, and we die the fastest. That's not a coincidence. We're the only country in the world who has a big pharma, but we are the sickest because we don't ask questions. Why is the one system that we are told is supposed to help us, why does it operate through fear? What kind of sense does that make? You know your body can't heal itself when it's scared, right? Because the vibrational emotion of fear vibrates too low to heal the body. It vibrates too low to get your body to alkalinity. Like I'm dumbfounded, right? Then they give people insulin shots. Why the fuck would you do that? You know where insulin is carried? The same place collagen is carried, which creates cartilage. It's carried in the lymph water. So why do you, I don't understand if the logic of the body that everybody knows that this is one unit with a head on the top and all of the grand central station is in the head, why we keep going to humans who did not create the body to break down the one system that was created and works in autonomy, in perfection. Miss Bella says, I'm pleasantly plump. That's funny. That's right. The body needs high vibrational energy. If the frequency, remember when we say vibrational energy, that means electrical current, y'all, electricity running through the water. If that electricity is not running at a frequency that is high enough to carry the water, then you will short circuit yourself and make yourself sick. So Ms. Velez, funny thing, one of my affiliates, Desi, said that when we're bigger, we're not fat, we're flooded. But that's excellent. I'm not fat. I'm just flooded. I'm flooded because the water is not flowing. So we just have to unflood the water. Yeah, make the water flow. So, my loves, we're going to talk about prostate stuff next week. We're going to talk about prostate and liver stuff next week. If you have not gone to get ready for Monday, please go and sign up for Monday because we're going to do eczema on Monday. This week, y'all, I'm repeating the homework. I need y'all to do something different in these categories: water, breathing, and exercise. I need you to take 1 week. That's what's wrong with Americans. I'm asking you 1 week. 1 week. 1 week, 7 days. I'm only asking you 1 week to add something to your regimen that you did not have before and pay attention to what that does for you. That's all I'm asking. A lot of that times, that's the answer. You just have to pay attention. You add something new and you pay attention and you ask your body how it likes it or not. So I need y'all. That's repeated homework, right? I will see y'all next week. I love y'all. Ms. Velez, have a peaceful night. I can't wait to see you in July. July is going to be a fun class. Y'all have an awesome, awesome night. I will check y'all later. For those of y'all coming on Monday, I'll see y'all on Monday night.